you're feeling the miss of, man, I have to just lead my team all the time. I have to manage them. I'm getting sucked into the leading, managing, and holding people accountable. So if you're finding yourself that you're stretching into more of those things than staying in your unique abilities, then that's where you're going to want to move in that direction of hiring and finding that right fit integrator who's going to be your puzzle piece match to take you to that next level for the company.
Welcome to the Great Talent, Great Business Podcast, your go-to resource for building exceptional teams and thriving businesses. Each episode delivers actionable insights on harnessing offshore talent, integrating innovative technology, cultivating a vibrant company culture, and attracting and retaining top performers. Subscribe now to never miss an episode. For more resources, visit greattalentpodcast.com. where you can download this episode's free worksheet designed to help you apply today's insight to your business. And now, here's your host, Rob Levin.
Today, I'm joined by Jamie Munoz, founder of Catalyst Integrators, a fractional COO firm helping businesses running on EOS. Her team partners with CEOs and leadership teams to bring clarity, structure, and momentum to their vision. Catalyst Integrators has earned major recognition. They've won the SBA's Best Business Coaches Award 3 years in a row, and were recently ranked 640 on the 2024 Inc. 5000 list. She's also a rescue dog mom based in Cave Creek, Arizona. Jamie, welcome to the show, and let's just dive right in.
Awesome.
So, Jamie, before we talk about EOS and integrators and COOs, I want to just ask, what's the first step for founders to get out of the day-to-day and get in a position where you can focus on the business and on growing the business?
That's like $1 million question, right?
Let's start off with a good one.
Right? How do we do that? I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think for me, it's dedicating intentional, sacred time to work on the business. And also, for me, it's framing that up for myself. I know that on a Saturday morning after I've had great outdoor body movement and digested maybe some form of a podcast or something inspirational, that I can then go sit and have a clarity break or start mapping out some new ideas or things like that. That sets me up for success to intentionally spend time on the business rather than, oh shit, it's 5 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. I gotta work on my company. I'm not energized at that point. I'm not setting myself up for success. And then that's where I think we start to feel that like resentment or that stagnation or whatever. That's just been my personal experience. I don't know for you.
Well, first of all, you've taken this a step further than I think what most people do, which is set aside time. That's not enough from what you're saying, which I agree with, which is you want to be in a great position where little distractions, whether that's on a weekend or you can go to the park and put your phone on silent, and be in a position where you're energetic. Because what I think a lot of business owners forget is that maybe your number one, maybe your number two job is to work on your business, to set the strategy, to evolve the strategy. Nobody else is going to do that. The pace of change in business is way too fast for you not to do it. And therefore, it is the highest priority. So you want to be not only set aside time, but you want to be your best self.
Yes.
I've never heard anybody say that before. And I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, good. I love that.
So EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, which we run on to, it's a way of running your business. Tell us a little bit about the integrator concept at EOS. And then my follow-up question, which I'll just throw in there now, is when does a business owner, if they are not the integrator, and you'll explain what that is, when do they know it's time to bring in a COO or an integrator?
Oh, I love that question. So integrator, as it's defined by the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, for those who may or may not know what that is, the role of the business owner is the visionary, right? The person with the big ideas, the drive, everything we were just talking about, the desire to work on the business and move things forward. There's a role that plugs in to support this visionary called the integrator. That's what they call it. Commonly in the world, we'll call it a COO, a Chief Operating Officer. There's technically a separate operations box on the accountability chart that EOS has defined. So we've got visionary, we've got integrator, finance, sales and marketing, and operations. So commonly, a full-time COO is dabbling, I believe, in that integrator and operations bucket. They're kind of like one human there. What happens in small businesses that are small entrepreneurial, the visionary or the founder started the company, right? And in a lot of ways, they're probably also wearing that integrator hat. So they're this beautiful mishmash together of visionary and integrator. And over time, you want to start unwinding from that. If you don't have a business partner, like you've got Andy, so it's like you guys are this beautiful visionary integrator duo. But if you didn't have that, you start having these inner conflicts of like, okay, I'm to your earlier point, I'm on the business, I'm in, I'm on, I'm in. Okay, now shoot, I'm in like 90% of the time. I got to spend time on, and you're in conflict. So I would say for me, it becomes kind of a feeling. There's a feeling that's elicited, that's coming through, triggering you, which is probably maybe too late of a feeling. If you're already there and you're like, well, shoot, I can't do this all by myself. I'm having conversations with myself. I need a thought partner. If you're thinking to yourself, I have no one that I can go toe to toe with on my team that can elevate to that 30,000 feet up and work on the business and be strategic. And we can have agreements, disagreements, devil's advocate, what is it to kind of come together collectively with a go forward? So I feel like it's you straight up don't have another physical human body there that's capable of having that with you, that's in the business. You're looking for that thought partner. Maybe there's somebody you're feeling the miss of like, man, I have to just lead my team all the time. I have to manage them. I'm getting sucked into the LMA is what we call it in EOS, the leading, managing, and holding people accountable. And so if you're finding yourself that you're stretching into more of those things than staying in your unique abilities, I know we're both in strategic coach. So this unique ability concept, if you know that you're there more as you're doing your reflections, then that's where you're going to want to move in that direction of hiring and finding that right fit integrator who's going to be your puzzle piece match to take you to that next level for the company.
I like the fact that you didn't fall for the trap of saying, well, at X million, that's when to do it, because it varies by company. Mm-hmm. What you did describe is the symptoms. And I'm going to share my personal experience. Now, in my case, it was different. Andrew and I formed the company at the same time together. Mm-hmm. And then once we started working with EOS, it was just apparent, like, yes, I'm the visionary, he's the integrator. And for me, I'll say, as the visionary and the one who kind of came up with the idea, what was liberating is two things. Number one, yes, I could LMA, I could lead, manage, and hold people accountable. It's not what I do best. It doesn't give me energy necessarily. It actually doesn't give me energy, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas when I can go to strategic coach and have this huge breakthrough like I did this week, and I have time to think and I have time to talk with clients about what challenges they're having and all of that stuff. And I don't have to worry about the operations. Yes, I'll get involved in something. Of course, that's going to come up and that's okay. But it's been so liberating. But liberating is one thing, but I think it's unleashed our growth, right? Because we now have somebody, me, dealing with strategy. Where are we going? What do we need to be doing now? What's going on in the marketplace? And somebody who is dealing with really running the day-to-day of the company. And I wish I would have known this 20 years ago. So thank you for sharing that. Let's switch gears just a little bit. When you think of remote or hybrid companies, and I believe you guys are remote, we're 100% remote, the companies that do it well, what is it that they do that makes that remote and hybrid company, which can have a lot of challenges, right, with culture and stuff, what do those companies do really well?
I would say that there's an intentionality around building culture. I was at Strategic Coach last week, and there was a gentleman who raised his hand and was like, my team loves and wants to work virtually, and I hate it. And this is awful, and it's not for me, and I feel like it's my company, and they don't want to come in the office, and I want to see people in the office. And it's like, well, there has to be an intentionality to deciding if you're the business owner and that's what you want, and you want to be there and be involved because you get to decide, then that's a culture shift you're going to want to make so that you're living your ideal life. And there might be people there that no longer like that or don't want that, and they may not be a fit anymore. I think those are the tough choices to make. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It doesn't make it you're a good person or a bad person if you don't want to come into the office. If you're feeling this tension there because the remote style of work isn't working, I would say intentionally, and I know you talk about this a lot, you have to be more intentional with building culture, I think, when you're virtual, because you don't get the walk by an office and bring a birthday cake and that kind of stuff. That was the environment I was in for most of my career. And then when I moved to virtual, I'm like, okay, I got to be real intentional. I have to set us up in a way that we can have those interactions and have those celebrations, you got to plan them a little bit more. And not everyone can always come because of time zones and things like that. But otherwise, we're attracting and working with people that if we were only in person, I wouldn't be able to work with. I'd have no one on my team right now that I work with because no one lives in Arizona. Well, that's a lie. 2 of them do. But the other 10, I wouldn't have the opportunity to work with unless they relocate.
Yeah, it expands the talent pool that is available to you hugely, not only in this country, but all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what you said about the intentionality. I think just in general, if you want to have a great culture, you have to do that by design, and that's intentional. And then when you're remote, everything just takes a little bit more. It's not that much harder work, but it does take more intentionality. One of the things I like to point to is communication. You kind of have to over communicate.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that hard, but it's all about that intentionality. This episode is brought to you by Work Better Now, your trusted partner for accessing high-performing talent from Latin America. Our clients say that partnering with Work Better Now has transformed their businesses by providing the proactive, reliable, and skilled professionals they need to thrive. For more resources to help your business grow, visit workbetternow.com/eguide. And if you're ready to build your dream team, head to workbetternow.com to schedule your consultation today. As a special thank you to great talent, great business listeners, we're offering $150 off your first 3 months. Just mention great talent during your consult. Let's talk about fractional, because your company provides fractional COOs. But I want to expand this to, if a company has a fractional COO or a fractional CMO or fractional CFO or whatever, how do companies get the most out of a fractional relationship? Because it's obviously different if somebody's not there 9 to 5 or whatever it might be in your company.
Right. And it's interesting because I'm honestly wanting to play with the psychology of this word fractional because it throws some people off.
Go for it. Go for it.
So it's funny. I actually started removing the word fractional from our website because the way that we all work, and we've designed everyone's full-time is 40 hours and this is a taxable blah, 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 and you're an employee. There's a lot of structure, how things are that are meant to be. Not that I'm any kind of a rule breaker, but there's structure to how these things are supposed to be. And there's some things that have gone outside of the rails a little bit over the years. I think in the past, we called people consultants, right? But whenever I hired a consultant to come into the manufacturing facility, they'd come in with their clipboard and give me all the notes and then be like, here, go do all this shit. Goodbye. That should fix the things. And you still had to do the things. So I think we're ending this era in a lot of ways of it being where we're consultants if we're coming in part-time and coming in as trusted contractors to do a body of work that's necessary based on the time needed to do the work. So I could go into a business and claim to be their full-time integrator and sit in that seat and do all, to be honest, for 20 hours of the week. Because if that business is not ready to scale the way I need, if we don't have the size of the team, if the readiness factor is not there yet for them, then it's a waste of time, energy, resources for me to just sit there and be wanting to drive a company forward, but we're just not there yet. I think that's where fractional has entered in over these years, has been more so, I just need a person who's done this job before that could come in that I can afford. That's not this giant salary and benefits and a computer and a desk and travel, like all these crazy things, but making talent affordable, right? Which is also the mission. You guys have a mission around making this affordable talent and helping your team members in Latin America live their ideal lives. At EOS conference, they used to spit these numbers about the fact that for every integrator, there was like 4 visionaries. So there's a gap there of every entrepreneur or business owner that's trying to grow and do something. Simply, the talent wasn't there in terms of integrators with experience that could take that seat. So by that nature, integrator seat's not full-time as a role by itself. If you're in that operations seat I mentioned, now you're kind of a full-time gig. But if you're not in the business doing the doing and you need an elevated leader to be that thought partner, that's where fractional can be a solution. Because like you were saying, you had Andrew when you started. Imagine you didn't have Andrew, or it was just you trying to do both of those things. I think to a point, some people can do those things for a time. Doesn't mean they should. And that seat typically should pay for itself. If you're getting your time back a few times over because you've got this other person driving things forward and taking over for you, probably the relationships you're going to make, the BD you're doing, the thing you did at Strategic Coach is going to pay for that seat, typically hand over fist.
10 times over. Fully agreed. And the other thing that I was thinking as you were explaining the whole concept with hours is I think people should get less focused on hours and more focused on, all right, what do we need to accomplish?
Yes. I don't know what they do all day. As long as we're hitting our goals and doing our things, I don't know if they're working 3 hours a day or 12 hours a day, to be honest.
And here's the other thing to think about. Somebody with considerably more experience can do things maybe in half the time.
Correct.
So why are we talking about time?
Yes.
Time's not what's important. Can we get these things done in this period of time? It doesn't really matter again, it could take somebody 10 hours a week. It could take another person 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting also what you said about rethinking the word fractional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Speaking of EOS, it seems like it's getting more popular by the day. It's been very helpful for us. I can't imagine us, particularly as a remote company with most of our people in Latin America, I couldn't imagine that we would have had this kind of growth without that framework. What are the common mistakes that you see that companies make when they're implementing EOS?
I love this question. And some of my answers are things that I've experienced and some clients or some that I've seen. So personal experience and seen experience. I would say the first one is for sure trying to self-implement or trying to have a person who's organized just pick up the book and try to implement it for you. I mean, sure, you'll get part of the way. If you need to be scrappy and you need to do some YouTube university to start figuring some shit out and put things in place, something's better than nothing, to be honest, but it's going to be messier. And the adoption is what's going to be less sticky. I feel like if it's not really rolled out correctly, because then it leads to distrust or bad habits form where people now need to hold people accountable and they're going to point to EOS rather than be like, well, no, this is what I do believe in, right? They use the system as the bad guy. And so now we have a disdain for EOS because we've decided that it's the fall guy. I think from my own personal experience, there's a lot of trust that has to be there foundationally and communication to roll into something like this before you go hard fast into and here's the truth and here's what it is. And I'm going to just lay it all out there for you. So if the team health is like shaky or not quite there, that's where I'd probably advocate for doing some of that work congruently or a little bit before even to really start giving yourself that opportunity as a leadership team to build that trust together to go into this environment where you can have these direct conversations and not waste time and not trip up a little bit. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, the whole team health thing. I didn't even think about that. And it's not just, are there problems within the team, but is the team really gelling together? Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying this is the day that we're recording this is the day after we just had our quarterly. Oh. And I told it, which is a full day. I don't know if everybody does. For us, it was a full day. It was a good 8 hours. Really productive. And I remember telling the entire team at the end, I said, for those of you who've been part of the team since we've started implementing EOS, I hope you'll agree with me. This has by far been our best quarterly. And every quarterly has gotten better because as a team, I noticed that when we're discussing issues, people are jumping in when they have a grounded opinion, even if it doesn't have something to do with their department. And that's, I think, where you want to be, right? Yeah. Because now it's not about the department, your department, it's about the company as a whole. And that only happens when there's trust and the team feels very comfortable with one another because you're going to attack a position, right? Like, hey, no, I don't agree with that. And you're only going to do that if you feel comfortable. Yeah. And that's really where a lot of the magic happens.
Right. You have created the psychological safety in that environment for people to be able to collaborate and contribute those things without feeling shut down, not accepted, not listened to, right? These self-managing or self-growing company concepts that we learn about in Strategic Coach, it's like, we're not there to be the genius with 1,000 helpers. And if you feel like that's your job as the owner, as the visionary, it's my word and what I say, and I don't care what anyone else has to say, I would tell you right now, then don't run on EOS. You're going to hate it. It's not going to be for you because this is going to be encouraging an environment of collaboration But like you're saying, it could very much be the opposite. If you're sitting here a year or two from now and no one will speak up and no one will say anything.
I heard a great line many, many years ago. It's a question. Do you want to be rich and successful, or do you want to be king? And it's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't be both.
Yeah.
And that's a different way of saying what you just said. If you're not willing to let go, it's not about democracy, by the way, but if you're not going to put yourself in a position where you're not the only one, you're not the one pushing all the time. Maybe you're in an ideal world, your leadership team is pushing you as the founder. To me, is like, now you're getting into heaven territory.
Yeah. I like this.
Let's get some more of that.
Yeah. Right.
Jamie, this has been an awesome discussion. Thank you so much for sharing with me and with our audience. Where can people find out more about you and Catalyst?
CatalystIntegrators.com. We got the website. We're really mainly living on LinkedIn in terms of like our posting and stuff like that. So yeah, anything Catalyst Integrators, you can take a look. We do all things integrator. If you've got an integrator who needs coaching and mentoring and support, right? You're new to EOS or you've been running on it and you're feeling a little stale or want to check up on how the integrator is doing and get them the growth and support that they need. There's lots of visionary communities. There's lots of things like Strategic Coach and Birthing of Giants and EO and all these things we can go to, but really trying to put resources in front of integrators to get support and have community and be the best that they can be, on top of, again, providing an integrator if you don't have one or need one or anything like that. Thanks, Rob, for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it was terrific seeing you. And thanks again for sharing all of this awesome insight.
Thanks. Yeah.
We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening. The Great Talent, Great Business podcast is brought to you by Work Better Now. Don't forget to review, subscribe, and download the worksheet for this episode at the link below. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn at Great Talent, Great Business, or visit greattalentpodcast.com.